Hello everyone, I am Crawlers and this is another episode of Ridiculoas Loadout. As you may already know, this is a series I started way back when in the Battlefield 3 days, basically whoring myself out for cheap views, running a suggested loadout from one of you in the comments section. So today, Carlton Craft Pro suggested the USMC Fallujah loadout, this consisting of the M16A4, an ACOG scope, underbarrel, a muzzle brake, laser sight, the M9 pistol, and the 320 launcher. And, well, what can I say about the M16 that hasn't been said 100 times before, even a million times? It's an assault rifle that's so popular in the movies and games, and not to mention in real life, that it's pretty much the American version of the AK-47. And, I mean, it doesn't get any more American than this, except maybe if the thing was firing apple pies at you instead of 5.56 bullets. And, it's been in use for what, 40 years at least? And, you know, there's over 8 million made worldwide in about as many modifications as you can imagine. There's even a non-lethal barrel attachment for this thing, the M234 riot control launcher that apparently fires a non-lethal ring projectile, kind of like we saw in Splinter Cell games, I guess. It's amazing to see what they come up with. I mean, it's, you know, the variety and just, you know, something to fit every need. That's pretty much astounding. But in game, it's got its own thing going on. Obviously, in Battlefield 4, that it doesn't have the infamous M16A3 modification. Instead, it has the A4, which, you know, as you know, fires in bursts instead of full auto. But Carlton Craft Pro suggested I only use the semi-auto fire selector for this loadout, which I did. But I gotta say, it's not doing anyone any favors. It's bad enough the burst fire weapons in Battlefield 4 are more or less useless, as, you know, everyone, including me, talked about this a dozen times. I'll even attach an old video to the end of this one so you can sort of see where all the ranting began. More so, it's Medal of Honor gameplay, so, you know, that'll take you back. But the problem is with the recoil and the fact that in Battlefield 4 these burst fire weapons really have no advantage over full auto ones. You know, so in fact that very few people use them. And now, although it is true that DICE gave burst fire guns in Battlefield 4 some love earlier last year, you know, moving the first shot multiplier to the last shot in the burst to kind of make these things a little more controllable. But I think this was a little, it was too little to give these weapons an edge of their own and, you know, make them more useful than full auto ones. And even worse, here I am with the M16A4, firing single shots at the bad guys, most of which are AK tryhard noobs, and I'm just getting cut to pieces from all sides. Never mind that I can't spam the left mouse button that fast, but, you know, I can't aim that well because I've got recoils and, you know, first shot multipliers effect in every shot I take, so these are stacking right up on top of each other. So definitely it isn't a defensive weapon in the game, at least, because, I mean, once several baddies start rushing you from all sides, you're pretty much fucked. And I mean, you'll be able to take one of them with you if you get lucky, but other than that, you don't really stand a chance. So what I decided to do with this loadout is adapt a more or less offensive hit and run tactic. And I mean, this works best of all if you're at kind of medium ranges, not close quarters, obviously, because in close quarters you're gonna get owned by said try-hard noobs, but I think you can sort of take out single enemies with semi-auto fire if you've got the element of surprise, and, you know, just spam this thing until they're dead. Hell, the M9 has more of a starting damage than this thing, and at a distance especially, where the damage drops off. And the M9 also has better hipfire spread, so in close quarters you're better off using that, you know, for those seriously close quarter faster clocks. But this brings me to the stats according to Simthic and the game files. Well, the M16A4 assault rifle does a standard damage for Battlefield 4, starting at 24 at 8 meters, which drops off to 18 at 55 meters. Now, what this means is that you only need, you will need actually 5 up-close hits with it to down a healthy target, provided one of those aren't headshots. Which is why I say the element of surprise is a must with this thing. I mean, imagine spamming 5 perfectly aimed hits to someone that, even in close quarters, you know, where you're gonna get pretty much mowed down if you're gonna get noticed. And if you can aim carefully enough and put the first round right through the headpiece, I think it's gonna make the rest of your job a lot easier. So I try to, you know, not rush things and kind of snipe for the head, at least for the first shot, and see where the rest go. It also has a rate of fire of 800 rounds per minute and a 650 meters a second muzzle velocity, which is actually pretty good as far as muzzle velocities go. I think only the AUG A3 has a faster bullet in Battlefield 4, you know, as far as assault rifles go. It has a per shot upwards recoil of 0.28 degrees, and a little less with muzzle brake, obviously, and uneven side-to-side recoils of 0.15 and 0.3 left and right, respectively. The problem here is the first shot multiplier, which is pretty healthy at 2.3, and assuming you're using this semi-auto option, it's really intrusive and will screw up your aim. It also has one of the fastest, actually the second fastest reload time in the game. Its tactical reload clocking in at a brisk 1.85 seconds, and its long reload clocking in at 2.37 seconds, which is also nothing to laugh at, which is, you know, pretty good as far as reloads go. Now you can see I included the laser sight attachment stats in my animation here, in my gun stats overlay, but they might be wrong because I calculated them myself from a formula I got off of the Simthic forum, and there's quite a bit of fuzzy math here, so I, you know, could have done this, could have input the wrong numbers, and it could have come out just plain wrong. I also don't particularly enjoy using the laser sight on my guns in Battlefield 4, outside maybe the PDWs, as I said many times before, with which are, you know, which have small hipfire spreads, so the laser there really comes in handy. But I think all the laser does on these assault rifles is just kind of give your position away, so they don't really add a lot to the hipfire spread. And I also don't particularly enjoy the ACOG scope in these FPS games, and this isn't limited to Battlefield actually. I've always said it feels like it's kind of on a broomstick. You know, you're holding it way, way, way too far away from your face to kind of feel comfortable with it on screen. And actually, a few days ago, it was kind of confirmed. I was watching a video on the Vickers Tactical channel, and it wasn't actually about real guns, of all things. It was about the Medal of Honor game and how it was made on PC. And Larry Vickers, I think his name is, he was advising the guy who was a developer who was showcasing the gun to him and the scopes, and well, he was showing the scope, what the scope looked like in game to him, and what he said was so surprising for me to hear, having never actually shot a gun myself in real life. He said the scope looks wrong and should be much more closer to the face, and the top and bottom edges nearly coming up to the screen border as the developer kind of moved it forward, and you can see it in real time. So that was kind of vindicating to hear. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Ridiculous Loadout, and now, because I don't feel like suffering alone, Carlton Craft Pro must also run this loadout and upload it to YouTube, and I'll accept a link down below in the comments section. And thanks for watching. Please rate and share this video, it helps my channel grow. Check out my other videos at the end of this one, and remember, in Soviet Russia, YouTube subscribes you.